In today's video, we're going to be going over 5 key principles to take you from knee pain to knee performance. This is part of my upcoming ebook, Rebuilding Indestructible Knees. Now, principle number 1 is that you should always look to exercise areas that aren't painful. Now, depending on your stage of rehab, this may be, for example, you are able to use the other knee, or it might be that you completely avoid it and you're using, for example, your upper body instead. However, the key factor here is that injuries are opportunities. If we, for example, choose not to exercise everywhere else, and we're not thinking of working around our knee pain with tactical exercise selection, then what happens is we fall foul of the principle of reversibility, which is if you don't use it, you lose it. Therefore, we should treat this injury to, for example, our knee as an opportunity to get stronger elsewhere, to improve our fitness in a way that's not going to aggravate our knee, and to address physical qualities that ultimately will reduce our risk of future knee injuries. In a subsequent video and article for this Rebuilding Indestructible Knee series, I'm going to be sharing the risk factors for knee injury reoccurrence. Principle number 3 is that we can't just assume that pain derives from a single isolated incident or position. For example, a lot of people might tweak their back, for example, taking the rubbish out. They will think, I've taken the rubbish out, I've tweaked my back, therefore it's taking the rubbish out that's done it. But the reality is you'd have taken out the rubbish plenty of times before then and not tweaked your back. So that tells us that there's something more than just an intolerance to a certain position going on here. This is where I like Greg Lehman's Pain Handbook. He describes pain, or indeed your body's ability to tolerate stress, as a cup. Now, some people, for example, athletes with better sprinting mechanics, better ability to change direction, healthier, for example, sleep and nutrition plans, they might have a big glass, or they might be more conditioned to tolerate the stress without that stress necessarily leading to a pain signal. But either way we slice and dice it, there's only so much that can go in your cup. For example, athletes who are underslept, who are struggling with stress outside of their sport, or even something as simple as carrying excess body fat. This is all going to fill the cup, and at one point it's going to overflow. What overflows your cup one day might not overflow your cup the next day, but it's important we take this holistic approach to managing pain rather than just thinking it all comes down to positions. Principle number 4 is that getting blood flow to the areas in and around the knee in a pain-free way is always going to be sensible. Now, during knee injuries, what can happen is you can have bits of cartilage break off. You might even have small amounts of bone that are in that area irritating and inflaming the knee. Now, because connective tissue doesn't receive a direct blood supply, this means that we're going to need to get synovial fluid to the area, which contains nutrients, which not only can help heal the area, but also can help move that debris away from points where it's going to begin to irritate the knee. Again, this also goes back to principle number 1, where we're looking to exercise or improve physical qualities in areas that aren't going to irritate the knee. Principle number 5 is the most important, and that's reconditioning should be reverse engineered and criteria based. Many athletes get frustrated and they think progress is going to be linear. The reality is, unfortunately, no, it's not. If you were to, for example, ask an athlete how long, or an athlete was to ask me, how long is it going to take to recover from my ACL? And this athlete, for example, has no strength base, has not been taught how to jump and land properly or sprint and change direction properly, and maybe body fat, that recovery time frame is obviously going to look different to an athlete who lives the life, sleeps right, gets the right nutrition, and has been following a structured strength and conditioning program for years. I know it's not what you want to hear, but progress isn't linear. Finally, I want to conclude with a little story about the frog, the well, and the water. And you'll see where I'm going with this in the coming slides. Now, imagine you're a villager. You stumble across a well. Now, you look in it and you see the water. Someone else takes a closer look at it and they see the frog. This is like going to, for example, physio for an opinion, and that physio happens to be an ankle specialist. Yes, the reduced ability of the knee to travel past the toe, otherwise known as dorsiflexion, can be a risk factor for knee injury. Now imagine you get a second opinion from another physio, Now, this physio might specialize in the hip, and they run some athletic testing and they find out there's weakness in your hip stabilizers, which means that you're unable to control the femur, this bone that's being highlighted, and that's causing your knee to collapse inwards when you change direction, when you land, when you perform single leg strengthening exercise. That physio says the problem is coming from your hip. Now, the reality is the body isn't Frankenstein's monster. We are not a collection of individualized parts. This is why we need to take a body as one piece approach. Like the London tube system, if, for example, one tube line is down, other tube lines are going to pick up the slack. So, whilst it can be helpful to have athletic testing to work out why you're suffering with your knee pain, the reality is we need a comprehensive picture of the body as an entirety, not just from a strength, stability, or mobility perspective, but also seeing how you move as
If you're deconditioned to plyometrics, you can't spend too much time in the deep end.
past that slide because of the sound, but what you need is a strength and conditioning program that takes a look at you as a whole piece and that helps you understand how to move from pain to performance. And that's what I'm going to be doing with my upcoming ebook, Rebuilding Indestructible Knees. Now, if you want access to all of my webinars, strength and conditioning content, or perhaps you just want to jump on a Zoom call and see if my service is appropriate for you, then check out my Patreon. I'm going to leave a free link, a week's free link in the description below. But otherwise, you're going to get access to all of my knowledge from my master's in strength conditioning, my years of working with athletes, and experience in moving from pain to performance. Hope you found this video useful. I'll catch you again in the next one.